All right, Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachakodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of the great millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Wherever you may be, wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Shalom. All right, we're going to get into various articles here. Just a couple clips I was looking at with some recent news here. And we might get a couple scriptures. I really don't know where we're going to go with this one. I actually didn't know exactly what I was going to talk about at camp earlier today. Actually, I had a little technical issues, so I used my phone to record. Yeah, I got a little, a little direction there when I watched One Impossible this morning. I really didn't know what I was going to talk about earlier. But, so yeah, I didn't feel like I got enough because I wanted to stay longer. So, throughout Yahushua Shah, as we get into this, for this here. All right. We'll probably just press play. I believe this first section here is about ICE, the first few clips. And then the second set is about the recent attack from the Israelis. So, yeah, let's just jump into it.
All right, thank you, Megan. Time now 5:03 this morning. The Trump administration is launching new immigration crackdown operations in the Democrat-run states of Illinois and Massachusetts. This comes as the U.S. Supreme Court ruling has given the federal government more leeway to ramp up ICE raids.
So they're talking about Illinois and Boston, Mass.
Blackburn has more.
We don't need no troops over here. Protests in Chicago, where the Trump administration ratcheted up immigration.
That's not what I wanted. Oh, but I'm glad it stopped anyways. This is because the sign here says, "Stop pretending your racism is patriotism." All right. So you can see the sign clearly there.
Enforcement in a plan it calls Operation Midway Blitz.
We're bringing back law and order to our country.
The Department of Homeland Security says the operation will, quote...
Now, mind you, they had the slogan, "Make America Great Again." And their idea of making America great again is cracking down on crime. But it just so happened to be the crime that they're cracking down is Israelite crime, right? Notice that, because it's not everyone else. The crime that he's claiming he's attacking is Northern Kingdom Israelites, and saying that everybody's gang members or they're gangs or they're violent, they're illegal in their country, or they're bringing drugs to our country. And then when it comes to the Southern Kingdom, which I mean, I guess he's on point with it, but hoodlums doing all this kind of stuff like that. Okay, but what I'm saying is the words, the language that he's using. These are things that are directed towards Israelites, man. It's not universal, okay? Though he is, and I mentioned that, like, eventually the other nations going to get caught up in it because it's really about the agenda. But their main goal is always to upset the Israelites, okay? But I mean, because the nations are just like with Jacob's trouble. Perfect example. Jacob's trouble is about the nation of Israel, but the other nations are here on the planet, right? So they're going to also be caught up in Jacob's trouble. So that's just how it goes, all right? And if you so believe that Donald Trump is President Nero reincarnated, then, I mean, what did Nero do? Eventually, there was persecution against the Israelites. So, and this is what we see ramping up right now, okay? It's not even, well, I guess you could say it's not violent yet, besides if you want to factor in the individuals that they say were found shackled, washed up on the shore and shackled together hand and feet. Okay, so other than that, it's really not violent yet. Okay, because when you go to look at ancient Rome and stuff like that, I mean, which they were calling them Christians back then, as a mocking term, but persecution of the Christians back then. All right, so they suffered a lot of heavy things, man. Okay, and I know I mentioned from time to time, I haven't been in that book in a while, but I know I mentioned from time to time this huge, thick book that I have called Martyr's Mirror, which are real accounts of real martyrs for the faith. Okay, men, women, children. Okay, so these are centuries of accounts of individuals that died for the truth. All right, as these heathens see it. All right, but died for just being Israelites. Okay, But it goes back to, a matter of fact, let me get that real quick. See, I wasn't really planning on, like I said, I didn't know where I was going to go with this one, but let's get that, because this is a basic, right here. I guess what the apostles would say a basic, building block type of scripture, because this is a basic understanding right here of why everything is like it is today. So we just get to the point here, right here. As a matter of fact, we have to jump up at 22. So Genesis 25 and 22. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people. And the elder shall serve the younger. The one people that are stronger than the other people are talking about the Israelites. See? These so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. And the other people are talking about the Edomites, the so-called white people. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. Okay, and the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Okay, now, I want to get off that too. Well, it speaks about the birthright, but you can read on that in your own time. Actually, I do want to jump over to 27 and try to find a point here. Because I want to hear the words that Esau said. Just bear with me because I don't know which verse it is exactly. Just bear with me. Okay, that's the blessing he got. Here we go. Yeah, it's 41. So because I was looking at 42. So yeah, we'll jump up here. Yeah, because we can also get the blessing from Esau, but this is the point I want for 41 and 42. And Esau hated Jacob, right? So the so-called white people are there, the Edomites, okay, hated the so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. And I'm putting that in a modern day term so you kind of understand it there, because this is particular and specifically Jacob and Esau here, but the descendants of those people are us today, and of the Esau, the Edomites, the so-called white people today. So, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart and his mind, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. See, that's what he purposed in his heart. And the scriptures talk about that in Amos 1, Obadiah. Okay, for 3 transgressions of Edom and for 4. And it goes on to say how he kept his anger. His anger did tear perpetually. He kept that wrath forever, even to this very day. It says, at these words of Esau, her elder son were told to Rebekah, and she sent and called Jacob her young son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doeth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee, and it's all over the birthright, which is why it's also mentioned in the New Testament in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 16 and 17. See? So, if we jump back over here and get some more of this.
Target the criminal illegal aliens who flock to Chicago and Illinois because of sanctuary policies.
We want to get them out of the city, make the public safe.
City and state leaders are pushing back, saying there was no advance notice or coordination from the federal government.
It's been about terrorizing our communities, but we will not be intimidated.
The Trump administration has also served.
It's funny. Yeah, not yet. Until it gets to the point where Esau is dropping tear gas and sending out robot dogs, and the troops is out there, okay? Because then all the talking goes away.
Immigration operations in Massachusetts this week. Also Monday, the U.S. Supreme Court cleared the way for the federal government to resume sweeping immigration stops in Los Angeles, for now, freezing a lower court's order that barred stops based solely on a person's apparent ethnicity, their job, or if they speak Spanish or English with an accent. In a scathing...
Wow. That's what Jake was doing to one another. When the verse talking about a silhouette or something like that. That's crazy. All right, but you see how far they're going with it. If you just speak with an accent, they're ready to round you up. Okay, that's crazy.
And Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote, "We should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a low-wage job."
Now, doesn't that not say enough, man? That these are Israelites that who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, which is the heathen's language, anyways. Okay, you already have Hernan Cortez and all that history there with the conquistadors, the colonizers, right? And appears to work a low-wage job. Now, why is that? Because some of them are here illegally, and even the ones that are not, all right, you just don't get the best of jobs, all right? Which is especially when you're dealing with the so-called Mexicans, right? Issachar. Yeah, man, I don't think there's a McDonald's that you won't see at least one of them at. They're there, okay, all right. Gardening, they're there, okay. Maintenance, in jobs like McDonald's and stuff like that, they're there, okay. Like landscaping, stuff like that, house building, farming. Issachar makes up a lot of the workforce, which is why they were talking about how streets are no longer busy. Yeah, because ICE raids, and so you realize that the business was coming from Israelites now that the streets are dead and empty. Okay, farm work is not getting done. Okay, and I know that firsthand. Issachar's out there. See.
With the stroke of a pen, the Supreme Court has undermined the rights of millions.
DHS called the ruling a win for the safety of Californians and the rule of law.
Justices Ketanji Brown Jackson and Elena Kagan also dissented with yesterday's Supreme Court ruling. Meanwhile, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker rallied against the Trump administration's stepped-up immigration operation in his state. Here's his post on social media, quote, "Once again, this isn't about fighting crime. Instead of taking steps to work with us on public safety, the Trump administration's focused on scaring Illinois."
Yesterday, the Supreme Court overturned a federal judge's order that was temporarily blocking ICE agents from targeting LA residents based on their race, on language, or their workplace.
And that's the same thing the last lady was saying, which was that she was saying about Chicago, targeting because of race, appearance, language, and even your low-income job. Okay, and so now you have, let me run it back right here.
Yesterday, the Supreme Court overturned a federal judge's order that was temporarily blocking ICE agents from targeting LA residents based on their race, on language, or their workplace. So what this essentially means is that the Supreme Court is allowing ICE to racially profile.
See, there you go. And what the last lady was talking about in the last clip there, Chicago is saying, basically she was saying how the federal, I think it was like the federal government pretty much sided with Trump. Well, what did you thought was going to happen? What do you think was going to happen? Well, she probably is in on the whole thing anyways. And if she's not, what do these people thought was going to happen? Okay, that's why it's such a beautiful thing to be within the prophecy and have this truth. Because we can look and see and understand why these things are going on versus everyone else who just are going to be emotionally charged and, go out marching, protesting, giving all these little fair speeches and, all this kind of stuff here. And what they're doing is actually getting caught up in the mixture of things instead of doing what the hopeful elect are doing and stepping back from it. Okay, excuse me, and watching things from a distance because we're not to get caught up in it. Because the scriptures tell us that the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So we should not be out there in the midst of this stuff. Okay, where somebody's protesting or marching or some conference or a rally or whatever. We got no parts in that. Okay, we wait on the Lord. Okay, let's keep going.
Kavanaugh reiterated, and this is key, he said that ethnicity alone can be a relevant factor for reasonable suspicion so long as it is combined with other factors.
Yeah, let me go back. Okay, matter of fact, I'm going to screenshot that. Where's my little toolkits here? Here you go. Let's see if I can screenshot that without stopping the video. Yeah, here we go. Take that. I'll just see it right there. Yeah, so it says Supreme Court of the United States. Kristi Noem, her name pops up a lot, obviously. Homeland Security, look, there's a name, Pedro Vasquez Perdomo. Who does that sound like? Sound like a Jake, right? Pedro Vasquez Perdomo. It says, to be clear, apparent ethnicity alone cannot furnish reasonable suspicion under this court's case law regarding immigration stops. However, it can be a relative factor when considering along with other salient factors. So, in other words, the first part of that sentence means nothing because they cover their asses in the second part of that sentence there. I mean, you see it, man. You're reading it for yourself.
Long as it is combined with other factors. So what does this mean? What does this mean on the ground? Well, it means that whether...
Let me go back because let me see if I can find what that word salient means. So I have a... Actually, I can just do it from here. What means salient? Most noticeable or important of an angle pointing outward, a piece of land or section or fortification that juts out to form an angle. So in other words, they're saying that their appearance, their low income jobs, their the language they speak and the accent that they give off are the things that stand out, that gives us a clue that, hey, you're one of the ones we're looking for. That's why I said what I said a while ago. The first part of the sentence means nothing because they cover their asses in the second part of what they said there. Latin word later Latin salient, meaning leaping. Mid 16th century, it became salient. Okay, meaning leaping. Yeah, like it says here, most noticeable or important. And those things are just, like characteristics, if you will. Supposedly characteristics. But look what's highlighted. Reasonable suspicion. What's reasonable, if I talk with an accent? That's not reasonable suspicion for you to come and lock me up and send me to, somewhere to get boarded on a plane and deported. That's not reasonable. Because I work a low income job. That's not reasonable. Well, yeah, but we get it though. But that's why I just say it's a beautiful thing to be within prophecy, okay, and not outside of it, man. And understanding what the Lord is doing, okay. Well, so many buttons here. Let me check my ticker. Okay, we're ticking. Yeah, that's
as it is combined with other factors. So what does this mean? What does this mean on the ground? Well, it means that whether you are a U.S. citizen or not, whether you are documented or not, if you look Latino, you look like an immigrant, if you speak Spanish, no, si hablas español, if you have an accent when you're speaking in English, if you happen to be by a Home Depot or by a farm.
That's just crazy. Home Depot, right? Come on now. What do you think they're saying? And that's really a heavy, if you want to speak, for the so-called Mexicans, right? Okay. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me do this real quick. I know. We jumping around. Like I said, I know where I was going with this, but because I want to find. I can't remember how it was worded. Ciboleth. That's probably wrong. It's probably an S. Ciboleth or something like that. Is it I-E? I don't know. We'll try to find it. We'll try to get it. I think it was in Chronicle somewhere. That's what I just wrote, ain't it? Man. Maybe I'm spelling wrong. I'm gonna just try to see if I can find that. Somebody probably know what I'm looking for too. I don't know how to spell it. Let's see if can I copy that? Let me just, can I paste that? And I'm gonna copy that. So actually, well, yeah, that's what I wanted there. Spring onion. I don't want all this up here. And just bear with me. I know we on a journey here. Let's see what happens if I put Bible up there. Ciboleta. Was it Shibboleth? Alright, so they're not giving us what we want there. Let's try SH. It's such a funny word. I almost want to say it's an account in the Book of Chronicles. Okay, or it's somewhere. It's such a funny word. It's hard to know how to spell it, man. And I'm surprised this one is not giving us anything. Is that it? Ah, Judges. Is that? It says 12 and 6. Let me see here. It says that, but we got to pull it up to see. I think this is the account. Yep, Ephraimites. Judges 12, and we'll start at 3, I guess, and read down. Yep, I see it right there. And when I saw that ye delivered me not, I put my life in my hands and passed over against the children of Ammon. And the Lord Yahweh delivered them into my hand. Wherefore then are ye come up unto me this day to fight against me? Then Jephthah gathered together all the men of Gilead and fought with Ephraim. Okay, Ephraim and the Puerto Ricans. And the men of Gilead smote Ephraim, because they said, ye Gileadites are fugitives of Ephraim among the Ephraimites and among the Manassites. And the Gileadites took the passengers of Jordan before the Ephraimites. And it was so that when those Ephraimites which were escaped said, let me go over, that the men of Gilead said unto him, art thou an Ephraimite? He said, nay. Okay, so now he's about to put him to the test. Then said they unto him, say now, Shibboleth. You see, I knew it was an I, but I kept thinking of the E. Shibboleth. And he said, Sibboleth, for he could not frame to pronounce it right. Then they took him and slew him at the passages of Jordan, and there fell at the time of the Ephraimites 42,000. Okay, and that's the point that I want to make. All right, where there was a test of speaking a language and saying something wrong or having a certain accent, and these were Israelites against one another. So if we go back over here, I'll keep that because we might need it again.
You have an accent when you're speaking in English. If you happen to be by a Home Depot or by a farm, Spanish, no, si hablas español. If you have an accent when you're speaking in English, if you happen to be by a Home Depot or by a farm or whatever.
Man, I just missed it because I just said farm, right? I know firsthand that Issachar, so-called Mexicans, are definitely out there in the fields, man. Okay, they are out there because a lot of them, that's their income. That's their income. They work, under the table, but that's how they get their money. And usually, they'll be in groups, all right, because you can make some money by yourself, but if you have a group working together, you make a whole lot more, all right? Because sometimes, like, they'll have jobs where you're working like $10 or $11 an hour for a certain amount of hours a day. Then there's other jobs where it's by the bucket, so you're picking up whatever you're picking up, the sweet potatoes or whatever crop it is, and you carry it to the truck, toss it up there. They'll put a ticket in your bucket, so on and so forth. If the guy really likes you, might put 2 tickets in there. The tickets are important because that's how you tally up how much money. So when you're working in a group, they really get paid. All right, they make good money from that. But these are under the table jobs. And then when you speak about actual jobs, but more than likely these are under the table jobs, which is why they're out there at the farms in the first place. So even if they were official jobs on farms, you still have to factor in the fact that they're picking them up because they are who they are. So you can't really hide from what's happening here. But this is all, controlled by the Lord. Let's keep going. I hope, that point is made. I know I'm not the best with my words. I be trying, man. Okay.
On the streets in Trump's America, you can be stopped by ICE. Even if there is no factual basis, no legal basis for reasonable suspicion, you can be stopped. What this may also mean is that if you are an American citizen, then perhaps it's time to start walking around with your passport. The Cato Institute found, after going through ICE data, that 1 out of 5 arrests by ICE have been Latinos on the street with no criminal history and no orders for removal. If this sounds and feels surreal, it's because that's exactly where we're at. Now, what we're seeing is a Trump administration that feels emboldened, that is acting with less guardrails, and that continues to be driven by a mission of mass deportation.
Hold on, let me go back real. I'm glad I kept this. Let me ask AI a question. Let's see what they have to say. Get my button out the way. Let's see. What is the worst thing the ancient Roman Empire did to, I want to say Israelites, but I know they're not going to really tag in on Israelites. They might not even tag in on Jews. I might have to actually put Christians there. Okay, because that's what they were calling us. All right, to Christians. Yeah, that might work right there. Let's see what it says here. I should have put under Nero. Emperor Diocletian. Worst action against Christians was the Diocletianic persecution, also known as the Great Persecution, which was the most severe or widespread official persecution of Christians in Roman history. Okay, Diocletian and his co-emperors in 303 aimed to eradicate Christianity through a series of increasingly harsh edicts. I want to be kind of particular, which all this is good here, because this is all, going to our history. But let me the ancient Roman Empire did to Christians. Let me tag in under Nero and see what happens there. See how it changes the answer. Okay, the Roman Empire under Emperor Nero subjected Christians to horrific acts of persecution, with the most egregious being their use as scapegoats for the Great Fire of Rome in 64, which you heard many of the men, the brothers of Great Millstone speak about that often, right? Great Fire of Rome, where Nero blamed the fire on the Israelites, man. Okay, leading to their public torture and execution in extremely cruel ways. One of those tortures was what's called Roman candles, where they would light, like tie them up like a stake or a cross or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it was, but and light them on fire, douse them like oil or whatever, light them on fire, and use them as light. Okay, and while they celebrated and feasted or did whatever. Okay, they were called Roman candles. Made us fight beasts. Okay, we were torn apart by lions and other different forms of gladiators, all these different things, man. Like they actually showed you in the movies, man. These are not just things that were placed in the movies. These were things that they were really doing. And I'm not saying it was only Israelites. Obviously, it was probably other nations too, because Rome was the superpower at the time. But we don't care about the other nations. We're talking about what happened to the Israelites, who they were calling as Christians at this time. Okay. Nero's persecution of Christians was a significant turning point in the early history of Christianity, marking the first state-sponsored systematic persecution of the nascent religion. This period was characterized by extreme brutality and cruelty. Christians were accused of various crimes, including hatred of the human race and arson, despite a lack of evidence, you see? And it's just like we're reading now, or listen to the video now. There's no evidence that these actual people, have any criminal records or, that they should be picked up by ICE, but yet ICE is still picking them up. Now, that's aside from those that actually do have criminal records, because you do have those here. I'm not saying you don't, but I'm saying even the ones that don't have any backgrounds of criminal history, all right? And they may be here legally, but they're still being picked up because of who they are. The methods of execution were designed to be public spectacles and included being covered in animal hides and torn apart by dogs, you see? Cruel punishment. Oh, we talked about alligator Alcatraz. Okay, one of the things they used to do, feed our babies to crocodiles, stuff like that, tortures like that. Use our children for alligator bait to get alligator skins, right? Everybody loves alligator, right? Different things of that nature. Then you have alligator Alcatraz, a punishment typically reserved for the worst criminals, often to emulate their savior. See. Oh, I'm sorry. Crucifixion was the next one. That first one was about, dogs, right? The second one was crucifixion. Okay. Which is the reason why Paul wasn't crucified, because they probably wanted to, but he had Roman citizenship. And that was shamed upon for you to put a Roman through that kind of, death. Okay. Even though Paul was an Israelite, that citizenship made the difference of why he was not crucified. Okay. I think he ended up being beheaded. Here we go. Being burned alive. There you go. See? Being burned alive as human torches to illuminate Nero's gardens at night. This involved tying them to stakes, you see, stakes, and covering them in tar or pitch before setting them alight. Come on, man. If that's not cruel, what is, man? And that's the cruel Lord, okay? Isaiah 19. I think it might be in verse. No, it can't be verse 1. Or matter of fact, let's just check it out real quick, swiftly and expeditiously. We're going to check it out. Joe Clark, you can got me back, man. All right, let's go here. Isaiah 19. Yep, it was verse 4. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, said the Lord, and the Lord Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shah host. See? And Trump, when you see his demeanor, he's a careless dude. I don't mean careless like just walk around stupid or whatever. Careless as in the situation. What did he say in that mocking that he did? Excuse me. I love the smell of deportations in the morning. Okay? Come on now. Let's finish this real quick. Now, wait, hold on. I skipped. Among the most prominent victims of Nero's persecution were the apostles, St. Peter and Paul, who are traditionally believed to have been martyred during this period. Peter was reportedly crucified upside down at his own request, while Paul, as a Roman citizen, was, yep, there you go. See, there's the answers right there, was beheaded. Nero's motivations were complex, stemming from political, social, and religious factors. He sought to deflect blame for the Great Fire of Rome, which many Romans suspected he had started. Christians being a new and often misunderstood sect that rejected traditional Roman gods and the imperial cult. Yeah, because we worship the true God, okay, and our Lord and Savior. Okay, which the Romans, which I talk about this often, would have something called divus, D-I-V-U-S, which they would basically declare themselves and their families as divine, basically saying that they're gods. Okay, and so we went through the earlier book of Revelation. Was it Antipas or was it the other guy? Who was it? Who's the other person? Man, I can't even think of his name right now. It was either him or Antipas, but he was at his old age, and they were saying like, "Hey, just burn this candle, to the emperor, and you'll live." But no, he was like, "If I do that, then I'm worshiping the emperor, and I'm not gonna worship no one else except for my Savior, man." So he decided to be put to death. Like, I'd rather die for my Savior than to do something as simple as lighting a candle to the emperor. But that very same simple act would be a form of idol worship, which I'm not going to do. Okay, so he kept his integrity up to the end, and he became a martyr. And that's what we have to do through the spirit and power of Yahweh Basham Shah. All right, pray, keep the faith, and hope that the Lord keep the spirit on us for us to hold our integrity. Okay, even if we have to become martyrs, because it doesn't say that we're going to be martyrs. We do know there's a set number of martyrs, but it says, man, how's the wording? Dang, it should just slip my tongue. All right, but basically what I was trying to say is, it's not sure that you're going to see death. Okay, because you may be a martyr, but you may not be a martyr. We don't know the lie. All right. That's why we don't focus on those things. We do have to have an understanding of that, but you don't need to focus on it. Okay, your lot is your lot, and you'll board that chariot when you get to it. He sought to deflect blame for the Great Fire of Rome, which many Romans suspected he had started. Okay, which that was what was talked about up above, and Trump is similarly doing that now. All right, on a very minute level, but he's blaming crime on the tribes, man. Like, come on, man. Crime has always been here. Okay. I mean, hell, if we're really being honest, crime was here when it was just the tribes here. Look at how Israel was going off, killing each other, cutting hearts out, sacrificing, all that kind of stuff. All right, but when you're talking about Israel versus Esau, well, then the conquistadors come over here. Thanksgiving, all that. We thought, we didn't forget about the history. So crime has always been here in this country. So it's not just an Israelite thing, because every nation has criminals, okay? Every country, every nation has criminals. Christians mean you. I think I read that. Say they rejected traditional, empirical. Okay, see, they rejected traditional Roman gods, and the imperial cult were convenient scapegoats. See, they were convenient scapegoats because they were already hated. All right, a misunderstood sect. They were already hated because they believed in a Lord and Savior who turned water to wine and he rose from the dead and lives forevermore, and everything else they were hearing. All these people are crazy. They're heretics. They worship who? Right? So they made so these things made us convenient scapegoats. Uh-oh. Hold on. All right, there you go. They're okay, this thing's playing with me now. There we go. Their monotheistic beliefs and refusal to participate in state religious practices were seen as a threat to Roman authority and societal stability. Okay, because look, what's going to be the ultimate thing? Let me light this up right here. Light it up. Light it up. What's going to be the ultimate thing that's really going to set them off? The MOTB, man. Their monotheistic beliefs and refusal to participate in state religious practices were seen as a threat to Roman authority and societal stability. Now that's speaking about the ancient times, what we believed in and how we carried ourselves. But the time's going to come where the MOTB is going to upset them because you're not going to falter, Lord willing. But even as of now, you got the prophets out prophesying, and that's getting to them. Hey, that's why the scriptures say there's nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1, I think it's like starting around verse 9. The exclusivity of Christianity and its perceived antisocial nature further fueled Roman animosity. Despite the severity of these persecutions, Christianity continued to grow and spread throughout the Roman Empire, with the martyrdoms serving as a powerful symbol of faith and sacrifice that strengthened the resolve of early Christian communities. Here, like John the Baptist wrote, Paul might have mentioned in his letters too. I mean, not John the Baptist, excuse me, John the Revelator, but writing these things that you may have comfort. I believe they probably all said the same thing. But you get the point, though. Okay. So we're gonna go back to here. All right.
Which, as we're finding out, no one is immune to.
Nation's highest court sides with the Trump administration. Another big story today, clearing the way for federal agents to carry out sweeping immigration enforcement again. Welcome to the Fox 11 News at 5 simulcast on our sister station, Fox 11 Plus. I'm Christine Devine. So LA's Mayor Karen Bass stood united with several community leaders outside the Westlake Home Depot today. They were condemning the Supreme Court's decision. That's where we find Fox 11's Rachel Aragon with the story. Rachel?
Several top LA city leaders stood outside this very Home Depot in Westlake. A reminder, it's one of several stores that was targeted by federal agents earlier this month and last month. We also know, though, after today's big Supreme Court ruling, it's prompting more concerns and fears about these raids continuing.
We will not allow the Supreme Court or anyone to divide us.
Outrage and a promise to fight back. The message from LA Mayor Karen Bass after the country's highest court's decision allowing federal agents to continue sweeping immigration operations in Los Angeles using race or language as a basis to stop people.
Law enforcement cannot racially profile and discriminate against Latinos, against Angelenos based on their race.
From Home Depots to car washes, over the last 3 months, the federal immigration raids in the LA area have made some fearful to continue or find work.
Yeah, they be going in everywhere, man. Churches, farms, stores, courthouses. Okay, coming to people's houses, traffic stops, random stops. Okay.
Approximately 247 car wash workers have disappeared from our communities.
That's a big number considering they're just talking about car wash workers. Okay, 247 car wash workers of all things.
This is just unacceptable.
It's a daily fear in our community. People aren't going to church, aren't going to work in many cases.
Ron Goches.
They're not going nowhere because ICE is out there at all these places that they know that you frequent. Okay.
Community organizer and teacher in South Los Angeles says after Monday's ruling, he plans to continue conducting community patrols.
What we try to do is we try to locate ICE activity before they strike so that we can warn our community so they have a chance to defend themselves.
Yeah, they had an app like that, but I don't think it launched too far because obviously nobody's talking about it. So it couldn't, launch too far. All right, but it was an app to excuse me, that will alert when ICE is in the area or whatever, kind of casing out a certain area to give you a heads up so that you would try to, escape their clutches. The clutches of the eagle, right?
In a social media post, the Department of Homeland Security calling the Supreme Court's decision a victory, adding DHS will continue to arrest and remove the criminal illegal aliens that the mayor of LA is protecting.
Serious move?
But top city leaders say they're not backing down despite Monday's decision.
From the beginning, we have known that Los Angeles has been used as a test case for total dominance and unchecked power by the federal government.
And earlier today, Mayor Bass also adding, she says she has taken several steps in response to all this. As one example, she said she filed a Freedom of Information request to get more answers from the federal government as to where and why people are being taken away.
Oh my God.
This is an absolutely extraordinary moment that we are witnessing right now. A very large plume of smoke above the Qatari capital of Doha, and paired with that, an Israeli military statement saying that they have, quote, conducted a precise strike targeting the senior leadership of the Hamas terrorist organization.
So what you're looking at is a recent strike that the Israelis just did on Qatar, okay?
End quote. I have just gotten off the phone with an Israeli official who confirmed to me that that statement is indeed about that very same blast in Doha, meaning that the Israeli military, not even Israel's intelligence service, but its military, actually conducted a strike in Qatar targeting Hamas's leadership.
Matter of fact, let me see real quick if we can back up here. If they let me back up, I'm gonna back up here. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go back to it. Yep. So let's see if we can put in where is, he said Doha, but let's put in Qatar. I mean, I know where it's at, but I mean, like, let's see if we can get a closer look. Okay, look. All right, yeah. There you go. All right, what did that say? Qatar is located on the northeastern coast of the Arabian Peninsula in the Middle East. Okay, basically in Asia. There's no such thing as Middle East, but you get it. Occupying a small peninsula that extends into the Persian Gulf, it shares a single land border with Saudi Arabia to the south and is otherwise surrounded by the Persian Gulf. Okay, there it is right there. Qatar. Okay, I guess Doha was probably one of the actual cities there. I'm not sure. Oh, here's a map right there. Yep, see Qatar, and you got Doha. See? So they're over here, bombing up in Saudi Arabia. Well, not actually in Saudi Arabia, because that's not Saudi Arabia, but they're way down here in the Persian Gulf, or at least dropping bombs down here in the Persian Gulf. Okay. And yeah, so everything's pretty much the same. I'm not sure it's the same old map there. All right, so Qatar over there. Look, there's Doha. Actually, I guess Doha is the capital because there's a star. So Doha is the capital, I'm guessing. I'm not sure. It's not really important. I believe because whenever there's a star, I believe that's the capital. And it looks like it's near an airport. I wonder what could be over there, if anything, that they really wanted. I don't see anything that's kind of important there. Who lives in Qatar? Let's see what it says for that. Who lives in, I should have said what nation. What nation? Or nations, whatever. Spell check. Nationality live in Qatar. Southeast. South Asia. Other Asian countries like Bangladesh, Nepal, the Philippines, Pakistan. National groups include Egyptians, Arabs, and a smaller number of people from Europe and North America. Population of Qatar is diverse, with foreign workers forming the majority of the population and workforce. South Asians, India, Bangladesh, same thing we just read there, Pakistan, Sri Lanka. Other Asian groups, Philippines, Iran. See, it says Middle East, but now all of a sudden it says Asian, right? Other Asian groups, Philippines, Iran, a community of foreign workers. Okay, which you know Iran's kind of beefing with them right now. Arab and Middle Eastern nationalities, Egypt, Palestinians, other Arab nations. Other nationalities, there are also communities from Sudan, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, Kenya, and smaller numbers from the United States, Europe, and other parts of the world. There's a lot of different people over there in that little small body over there.
Doha, the Qatari capital, is where several
senior... he just said it. Doha, the country's capital. Hey, well, we figured it out from the map. But thanks, my man.
Hamas leaders are currently based and have been based throughout much of this war in Gaza, namely Hamas's leader, Khalil al-Hayya. Khalil al-Hayya has been not only Hamas's leader in the wake of the killing of Yahya Sinwar, but he has also been the chief negotiator, engaged not only through the mediators, but also at times with U.S. officials in negotiations over the future of the war in Gaza. It's unclear as of now what the results of this strike were, whether or not Hamas's leadership in Doha has been killed.
So they don't really know. Israel appeared to try to distance the U.S. from the attack, saying it was a wholly independent Israeli operation. Yeah, right. Qatar condemned the attack. The strike risks unraveling diplomatic efforts toward a ceasefire in Gaza.
At noon today, I convened the heads of Israel's security organizations and authorized a surgical precision strike on the terrorist chiefs of Hamas. Israel acted wholly independently.
It's always funny when they say terrorists. Everybody's a terrorist except for them. The guys who do the real terrorism all over the world. Hell, they even make movies about it. And some of them be good movies. But who's really creating all the terrorist acts? Okay, going in and setting up puppet leaders, going in robbing people, backstabbing, taking over their land, like the Africans, right? South Africans, you know, taking over their beach resorts where they can't even enjoy their own beaches, all right? Acting like they ain't supposed to be there. Who goes and takes and steals resources so you can make things and do business off of it and so on and so forth? You're doing that, man. Okay, who dropped 9/11, the Twin Towers? Okay, who bombed that? I guess it was the Saudis. It was Saddam Hussein. Hey, Saddam Hussein was actually trying to tell us the truth, okay? Like, nah, man, America's bugging. They out here spazzing, blaming it on us, man, okay? Well, who does all these things, man? You're the terrorist, man. Esau Edom, okay? He was a terrorist against his own brother when he slew Abel, man. And then Cain got caught. And he got ousted, all right, fugitive and a vagabond. That's what they've been doing ever since, running from justice, living by the sword, okay, and it was power was given to their end, man. Okay, so hey, their time is almost up, but the real terrorists are those that do all these terroristic acts. Hell, what we can even talk about modern things. Who blew up the Crimea Bridge, man? It was probably some Ukrainians, but come on, man, America was assisting. They had to, or maybe we can talk about the pipelines, right? The Nord Stream pipeline, huh? Biden made a speech about that before it happened, and then it happened, right? Okay, are those not type of terrorist acts? Somebody just blowing up bombs, but the terrorists. Not saying they don't actually do this from time to time, but the terrorists are those Arabic people who strap bombs to their chest. Hey, Esau's a real terrorist, man. Okay, he's the real terrorist. Okay.
Wholly independently, and we take full responsibility for this action. And this
bold with it, okay? Bold. He said we take full responsibility. I just drop bombs and we take responsibility. What you gonna do about it?
Wholly independently, and we take full responsibility for this action.
See, they trying to cover America's ass, right? But the scriptures talk about the least of the flock shall draw them out, okay? It doesn't matter. Whatever Netanyahu and the Israelis get into, the state of Israel gets into, America is going to get into, because prophecy says that's going to happen. And that's what's going to draw and keep America. Okay, because they can, kind of throw rocks and hide their hands every now and then. But what's going to keep them engaged in these activities is the state of Israel. They're going to be the downfall of America, because they are the ones that are keeping them engaged into the activities like war. And that's prophecy.
And this action can open the door to an end of the war. End of the war in Gaza. Israel has accepted the proposal put forward by President Trump to end the war.
This criminal attack represents a flagrant violation of all international laws and customs, and a serious threat to the safety and security of Qataris and those residing in the state of Qatar. The state of the Qatar condemns in the strongest wording the cowardly Israeli attack that targeted residential buildings where a number of members of the political bureau of Hamas movement live in the Qatari capital.
And that's nothing new. They target, they don't care. They target men, women, children, babies, hospitals, food aid spots, food aid trucks, all right? People running to get to the food aid, just shoot them down and stuff like that, okay? They'll bomb up a whole city block just to get 2 guys, all right? These are your real terrorists, man. Not to say the other nations don't have their certain ways about them, the wickedness, but we're talking about the devil himself, okay? Who according to him, everybody's a terrorist except for them.
Doha, the state of Qatar, while strongly condemning this attack, affirms it won't deal lightly with this reckless Israeli behavior and its continued tampering with the region's security and any actions that would target Qatar's security and sovereignty. Investigations on the highest level are ongoing, and more details will be announced once available.
So they're saying they won't take this matter lightly. So if they respond, well, we'll see how they respond.
Why would, at this point, Qatar continue to act as a mediator, considering this has now happened? And or why would Hamas now agree to any type of ceasefire deal and the return of all the hostages?
Well, the incentive is Israeli troops are bearing down on Gaza City right now. I'm sure there are many people in the United States and elsewhere who believe that Israel's going to do this operation anyway. People think that negotiations can really happen and stop an escalation and potentially get the hostages out.
And that's bullcrap, because how many times have they negotiated? How many times have they had a ceasefire, and what happens? Sometimes a bomb get dropped the same day or the next day, okay? They have all these talks, they have all these sit-downs, they have all these agreements, and then they throw bombs all over again because, hey, Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is in the hands of the Lord, and as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. All right, it is the will of the Lord that these nations are fighting, man, okay? It's the will of the Lord that these nations keep tension between one another, regardless of how much they want to sit down and peace talk, chop this up, or in war and all that. No, man, it's not going to happen, because that's not what is part of the will of the Lord. The will of the Lord is to bring forth World War III, okay? Otherwise, that would make the Lord a liar, because he put the prophecy in within the Bible. But then, it's going to stop. There's no World War III. Well, if there's no World War III, how the hell are we going to get out of here? Because that has to go down. Because that links up with us getting delivered. Because eventually the nations have to get together to launch their missiles on World War III, on the hammer of the earth, America, Babylon the Great. And that's when the elect get beamed up, because Yahushua has the power to save the elect. So World War III is directly linked to our deliverance, man. Because within World War III is where America's going to be destroyed. And that's how the elect get delivered, from the missiles falling on this place, man. See?
Alive, then you push forward with the talks. If you believe that the talks are just a ruse, and that maybe they were even a trap, that they were used to somehow, get all these people together so that they could be attacked, or that it was used as a cover, then you draw a different calculation. So all of this is being discussed right now, and I just spoke with a senior Qatari official, and obviously the mediation efforts today aren't going on, but he said that they're they're figuring out what to do. They're still looking at it to seeing if Qatar wants to stay in this role or not. And I think there are a lot of people in Qatar who are shocked by what happened. They did not think that there would be an Israeli airstrike in downtown Doha.
Let's see what chat will say about this. Let's go back over here real quick. Let's see what they say. You get curious sometimes with what chat talks about. there is an interesting question-answer thing with chat. Let's see what they say when I ask them this. Why did the state of Israel attack Qatar? Let's see what they say. Let's see what they gotta say. Are we clicking? Let me see here. Let me click the button again. Okay, now it's thinking. Yeah. Airstrike. This strike was intended to eliminate Hamas leadership, whom Israel held responsible for October 7, 2023 attack on southern Israel and for orchestrating the ongoing conflict. So I figured they were going to say the same thing that's going on in the news. But here's the thing, though. So, but notice something here. Where is it at? So I can light it up. Okay. Yeah. Hamas leadership. Okay. Responsible for the October 7th. They've been riding this since it happened. Okay. They have been riding this wave since it happened, man. Have not stopped talking about it. The Israeli military stated that the targeted Hamas leaders were directly responsible for the October 7th, 2023 attack and had been orchestrating and managing the war against Israel. Okay, the only thing they did was upset things so that they have a reason to keep pushing forward. Because remember, they have an agenda, the Greater Israel agenda. So all it did is just disrupt things so that they can continue on with the Greater Israel. All right, because ultimately ain't going to be no peace talks, man. That's not what the Lord wants, man. It says attack. It says and had been orchestrating and managing the war against Israel. The strike occurred after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Israel Katz instructed officials to prepare for a possible strike on Hamas leaders following a shooting in Jerusalem that killed 6 Israelis, for which Hamas claimed responsibility. You see? Just back and forth there. Qatar, a close U.S. ally, has served as primary mediator in ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas. The attack, however, threatened to destabilize these peace efforts. Ooh, see, I just said that, you see? I just said that. No matter how much they try, man, okay, it's just not going to happen. See? However, it says the attack, however, threatened to destabilize these peace efforts and antagonize Qatari government. Qatar condemned the airstrike as a cowardly Israeli attack, which you just played that clip, you see, and a blatant violation of all international laws and norms, asserting that it would not tolerate such reckless Israeli behavior. The strike also drew condemnation from numerous countries and international bodies, including the United States, the United Nations, Saudi Arabia. Hold up. The strike also drew condemnation from numerous countries and international bodies, including the United States, which that's bullcrap because we know the U.S. backs up State of Israel. But okay, the United Nations, all right, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, because those are all right there in the same area. Okay, as Qatar, you saw what Qatar was stemming off of Saudi Arabia. I think the UAE is like north, okay, in that point, like that northeastern sector. It's a small little piece of land too. I mean, given how big the world is actually, huge, margin of what it looks like on the map. But I'm saying, when you look at the map, it's just a small piece of northeastern sector right there, like near the bottom of Iraq, I believe. I don't think it touches Iran. It touches one of those soils. Okay, but right there, at the end of that Persian Gulf, if you pull a map back up for yourself, you'll see it. So it says, the strike also drew condemnation from numerous countries. Yeah, we read that. Okay. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and several European nations. While Hamas confirmed that several of its members and a Qatari security official were killed, it maintained that its senior leadership survived the attack. Okay, and so you have different ones saying different things, saying that he was destroyed and saying that he survived. So we don't really know as of this point. But you know what? Let's close it out with this, since we do have that, because we finished with those clips. Yeah, okay. We can close this session off. Let's go over here. Actually, this will help me kind of refresh. Maybe I mean, go into this tonight, refresh myself on this whole chapter because I kind of get it, but it's a good chapter to refresh on. Let's just get a few out of here, as not to make it too long. Just to end it off on a general aspect of World War III. Let's start right here. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth. This is speaking towards Russia, okay? All right, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, okay, which are the Iranians. Ethiopia, which, obviously Ethiopia and Libya, all right, in so-called Africa today. All right, I believe they're both in the northern part, like to central, like north and like northeast, okay, if I'm correct, if I'm thinking about them the right way. But anyways, with them, okay, and even when you have the BRICS, all right, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and it's South Africa, but these are other so-called African, countries or nations or whatever, all right, which will all be on the side of Russia, okay, when all things go down. All of them with shield and helmet, okay, all of them strapped, okay, they got weapons and technology too. Gomer and all his band, the House of Togomar and the North Quarters. This is speaking to the area of Georgia, Armenia, and that very eastern sector of Anatolia, modern day Turkey. Okay. So like I was looking at this cat and all his bands and many people with thee. Okay, because all these nations have their own different whatever weapons and army. Okay, because it says many people with thee. Okay, because there's other nations other than the ones mentioned here. All right, like China. Okay, I think I always get North and South Korea. I believe it's North Korea with Kim Jong Un. Okay, he's dealing with them. Okay, I remember he went up to because I talked about that the other day. When you had that it was, I think it was last year that you had a little uptick in tension between North Korea and South Korea, and America and Japan was backing South Korea. So Kim Jong Un slid up to Russia like, yo, let's chop it up. Okay, so he's like, okay, I see what y'all doing. So let me go over here. Let me go talk to the bear real quick. So it's beautiful, man, when you see these things, play out. All right, but yeah, I mean, you got China, North Korea. Whoever else is joined with, I mean, the BRICS nation, the BRICS plus, man. Okay, the pluses are the partner nations, man. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself. Yeah, get ready. Okay, it says in Joel 3 to beat your plowshares, okay, into hooks, okay, and your spears, you're putting hooks into spears, something like that. All right. In other words, get your troops right. Keep doing your sea drills, your air drills, your land drills. Keep training with your partner nations' armies. All right, so y'all can be coordinated in attacks. All right, keep building up your arsenal, which China just revealed their arsenal recently, and we briefly talked about it. I believe it was last week at camp. Okay, those check out those Jin class submarines, man, and where they can fire from safety, and they can reach American shores from safety. Hey, you gotta love it, man. Be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. Right, Russia's the big bad man on that side of the playing field. Though China is the one strutting around a lot, really Russia's the main one. Okay, excuse me, but the scriptures do mention China, mention the pride of Moab. All right, in Jeremiah. In the Apocrypha, it mentions China again, pretty much, because it's the nation that fashioned itself the most. Like it wants to be the new America. Basically, they're trying to be the Chinese America. They want the #1 spot. They want everybody to really flow through them. And as I always mentioned, that Belt and Roads Initiative has created that avenue for them. Okay, because there's a lot of things that are happening in and out of China. And a big part of that is the Belts and Roads Initiative and all the other things that they supply. They're things that they make. All right, have upgraded from back in the day. Because back in the days, you got stuff from China. If it said China, it was probably going to break in the same week. But now, China has gotten better at making things, okay? So they're not just, a laughing stock when it comes to creating things. So China has really built itself to be the Chinese America, and they actually think that they're going to be the next America. Okay, China is going to be the next America, the next superpower on the earth, which is why I always talk about the whole coalition being broken up after America's destroyed, because Russia's not going to stand for that, and China's not going to stand for Russia, and any other nation not going to stand for them, and whatever. All right, it's just going to be mixed. That's why they're going to fight each other. But then Yahushua's going to slide over there, and they're going to have to get together and fight him, and that's when they're going to finally be destroyed. But let's keep going, man. After many days thou shalt be visited. In the latter days thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people against the mountains of Israel, which have been always waste. But it is brought forth out of the nations, and they shall dwell safely, all of them. Okay, and ultimately the Lord's going to set the war off in in the so-called Middle East, and a big portion of the land is going to be right there where the state of Israel is. Okay, because look at what they're doing. All right, so everybody's going to march over there. Even says the scripture say that the Euphrates River should be dried up to make way for the kings of the East. Everybody's going to be marching towards that area. Okay, and America's going to have to sail and fly over too, or whatever, however they're going to do it. Which they got embassies, so I mean they're going to have to come over there. Okay, send more troops over there. But then they're also going to have their troubles at home. So there's a certain amount of troops that they're going to have to stay at home. But that's a war tactic, man. If you Joshua did it with the Israelites. If you can draw the main army away from the stronghold, you can then attack the stronghold. They're going to have to retreat to defend the stronghold, and that's when you merge on them from the stronghold and at their backsides, flank them. Hey, that's what's about to happen. Babylon's about to be flanked. It says the mighty men of Babylon have were born to fight, man. They're about to be flanked. Okay. Let's end it off, because we probably said enough, man. It says, thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land. That's the armies. Thou and all thy bands, that's the armies, and many people with thee. See, the armies. All right. Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, it shall also come to pass that at the same time shall things come into thy mind, and thou shalt think an evil thought, and thou shalt say, I will go up to the land of unwalled villages, talking about America. I will go to them that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. And we talk about it all the time, man. Okay? The American people never know what's going on. The American army looks weak. Okay? They got gays and transgenders all in the army, and it's just all kind of foolishness. Okay? And the other nations are looking at them in America as a laughing stock, because they see how weak, like it says in Isaiah 14, they become, how has thou become as weak as we? You see? To take a spoil and to take a prey, to turn thine hand upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, and that dwell in the midst of the land. And ultimately, as it says in another chapter, that they're not going to regard their gold nor silver. There's no way you're going to talk out of this, peace talk, buy your way out of this, make any deals out of this. The nations, when they come down finally, okay, when the Lord allows it to happen, they are coming to destroy Babylon the Great, and it's going to happen from the inside out, because they're going to leave and then launch their missiles over here. All right. But I know we probably said more than what was the clips were about, but it's all good, for edification. So I'm gonna leave it there. Lord willing, you will edify to next time. I'm going to say shalom.